What's the haps? I'm Meroka, and I'm here to give you my professional gaming opinion on Thirsty Suitors. Okay, this came out last November, so I'm not exactly quick off the mark on this one, but my attitude to making videos at this point is if and when I want to talk about something. I just got around to playing it, and oh boy do I want to talk about this. If there's one thing I've tried to drill home in my content for the past 2.5 years, it's the importance of representation in media. And this is something that Outer Loop Games have been very vocal about championing too. Thirsty Suitors is a project led by South Asian developers who wanted to tell the kind of story and share a culture you don't get to see in mainstream gaming normally. Their own. If the cultural aspect seemed like the kind of thing that might not be for you, as the developers have readily stated was a common first reaction from critics, I'd urge you to give it a chance. I'm as white as the driven snow, and I loved it, although that may also be in no small part due to it being unapologetically queer to boot. You play Jala Jayaratne, daughter to Indian and Sri Lankan parents, but raised in small-town America. Jala is an early 20-something hot mess. She ran away with a girlfriend 10 years her elder, got dumped, and now comes crawling back to mend her relationship with her parents, her sister, and her 6 evil exes. Okay, no, not evil, no, just exes. It does feel like it's got a bit of the Scott Pilgrim about it though, as you must battle them all in turn in spectacularly dramatic fashion in order to patch things up between you. Gameplay takes the form of a quickie hodgepodge of mechanics. Up front and centre is the battling, which plays out as turn-based RPG combat. There's no incredible depth to it, as it mainly serves as the platform on which to serve messy psychodrama. There are 5 types of weaknesses, of which every enemy will have up to 3. From your conversation throughout the battle, you can often have a pretty good guess as to whether your opponent will be easy to provoke into a rage, or to shock, or to impress, opening them up to taking more damage. Your family drama more often plays out through a series of cooking challenges. You'll work your way through learning a variety of traditional Indian and Sri Lankan dishes through the medium of QuickTime events, all while trying to reconnect with your mother and father. There's also a bunch of skateboarding challenges available. Jala is a skater, and a good chunk of the story revolves around skater culture. But the game seems weirdly less attached to this mechanic, because as soon as you finish the skating tutorial, it dumps you like your teenage ex. They make it very clear that everything else to do with skating is totally optional. There are a good number of skating challenges you can choose to do, which reward you with cosmetics and non-essential stuff, but it is really only there if you want to engage with it. You get one more mandatory skating section right at the end in a low-stakes, hey, do you still remember this mechanic? kind of way, but little else. If the gameplay is a little on the shallow side, it genuinely doesn't matter, as it's really there as a vehicle for the story, and it's the story that Thirsty Suitors excels at. Your sister won't answer your calls or texts, and her wedding is coming up very soon. Your grandmother, your party, is flying in for the occasion, and everyone in the family is terrified of her. Mom wants everything to be perfect, and Dad just wants everyone to be happy. He's so cool, I love him so much. You want to make up with Tyler, your teenage on-again, off-again ex, but she'll barely give you time of day outside of your helping her investigate a weird bear-themed skater cult that's captured half the town's kids. And on top of it all, you keep bumping into all your other exes, and you're going to need to get to the bottom of all your unresolved issues with them. All of this, everything, oozes charm and charisma. Everything Jala does is completely over-the-top dramatic. Girl can't even come down the stairs or hang up a jacket without it being a spectacle. Not that anyone else around her is much better. I said up top Outer Loop are big on representation, and their influences are at the forefront throughout. It's big and bombastic, and feels very Bollywood. Or at least for a whitey whose Bollywood experience is fairly limited anyway. I've seen folks in the Steam community say they appreciated the references, so maybe there's more to appreciate for a real Bollywood fan. The South Asian family dynamics and culture and the immigrant experience in America are all very genuine and born of a team who wanted to share their own lives and stories with the world, not least of which to centre voices less often heard in video games. I think there's maybe, one token cishet white character, and it's extremely funny that he's basically the only unambiguously unpleasant character. Even your terrifying party, I found it difficult to bring myself to dislike because she's just as entertainingly larger than life as Jala. The moment she arrives, she kicks a chair into the air, cleanly flipping it to land on top of it on the kitchen table. What an intro! I whooped, I cheered, I stood up and applauded. But what I love is how effortlessly casual they managed to make all this great representation. Sometimes representation in media can come off a little bit tokenistic, a box-ticking affair, but Thirsty Suitors comes by it very earnestly. Jala's bi, so naturally her ex is going to be a diverse bunch. The skater cult leader is preying on the more alienated kids in the community, so yeah, it kind of stands to reason they'd be all the queer kids, more easily brought in by promises of community and a place to belong. And the intersections of all these identities make a great platform to have the kind of conversations you just don't often get in media. Jala's lesbian ex, Dia, in the time Jala's been gone, has been disowned by her family after coming out. This opens up avenues for conversation with Jala's family about her own coming out, and that of her auntie Chandra, and the support, or lack thereof, from their families in doing so. Ondale is a non-binary South African immigrant who's struggling to reconcile those aspects of their identity. They're a very masculine-presenting AMAB, I assume, NB, so when they talk about society's expectations about their gender in relation to how they want to present, that's the shit that's hitting me like a truck. It's shit that makes me feel seen. They just like me for real. Okay, it's not a one-to-one comparison, no. Ondale's identity as an immigrant is an extra complexity I obviously don't relate to. But then, learning about others' experiences and perspectives is a big part of the joy of a game like this for me. Perhaps the only thing that stood out as odd in any way was that we never get to explore much of Tyler's identity. The game's Suitopedia, or character profiles for your exes, makes mention of her transition during her teenage years. Tyler's portrayal was obviously important to Outer Loop, as they explicitly chose a trans woman to play the role too. Yet, if you don't look in the Suitopedia, it's just something that never comes up. That's all but irrelevant to the character. In some ways, that's maybe what most trans people want, for it to be a minor, basically irrelevant quirk of their life. But we know life in Timber Hills isn't some queer utopia. It's pretty accepting, but even still, we've seen Dia and Ondale's struggles, and heard about others. It seems mildly implausible that Tyler being a trans woman has had no impact on her life. It's probably not that important, because I don't think Thirsty Suitors is the way regressive opinions will be changed and hearts and minds won, because the kind of people who want to cancel anything with a rainbow on it, potentially up to and including the rain, are not going to touch this game with a 10-foot barge pole. It's obvious propaganda for the woke agenda, you see. But I personally would have liked to have gotten to know more about Tyler's life beyond her messy breakups with Jala. All in all, Thirsty Suitors is the kind of game I want to see more of. Unafraid to try something different. Completely and unapologetically authentic. Oh, and gay as fuck. Thank you all so very much for watching. See you same time next year with another video, yeah? Jokes aside, if you do want more Meroka content, go listen to Mole Man in the Morning, my Simpsons podcast, and All for Arnold, where I'm being forced to watch Arnold Schwarzenegger's entire filmography. They're both great.